Hi guys, Ms. Torres here. I'm going to go over now what product research looks like for your AC1 research portion of your any BTEC creative media project here. So, like our other presentations, I'm going to follow the same format. We're going to talk about the what and the why, the types of production research that you can do, what the process actually kind of looks like when you're looking into it, some tools and techniques, and there will be a task that you will have to complete in class. So, part one, obviously, the what and the why. So, production research, it's all the process about investigating and gathering information around the technical requirements for your project, okay? So, technical requirements could be the formatting, that could be the platforms that you want to use certain things on, etc. Looking at production methods and best practices, resources, tools, and skills that you'll need because you'll have to practice with that in experimentation in AC2. Some logical considerations or constraints, and also just kind of inspiration. And it's really important that you do this because if you know what you need to create the thing you want, it'll really help you plan effectively to have a successful production without making costly mistakes. Now, in the real world, costly mistakes actually means like money. Okay. Remember, you have a budget, you have to complete something here. Fortunately, we're not quite working with currency, like actually like monetary, but we have time and time goes by really quickly. And you guys have a lot of things going on besides BTEC. So you want to be efficient with your time. So understanding what you need to do in your around production for your product helps you create those realistic project plans and timelines, which you'll have to do in AC2, helps you plan accurately for equipment and resources, which helps you in AC2, solve technical challenges. If you don't know how to use a Blackmagic camera, now it's when you will know you need to learn, make those really good informed creative decisions, and then just deliver higher quality work with the limitations that you have. So it's a really important part. When you're researching production research or product production research, there are three different things you can look at. Obviously, there's the technical bit that would include equipment capabilities and limitations, specifications or requirements around technical things. The quality you would film something for YouTube maybe would not be the same for TikTok. And software tools and comparisons. So that's all the technical bit. Then you have the process research. What would be the best way to approach your production? What are some best practices? If you're going to just do something for social media, for Instagram, what's the best way to film something? How do you deliver it? Resource and logistical research. This is one that I think a lot of people actually don't spend a lot of time doing. And it's just seeing what's available, like available equipment and facilities. I think a lot of time people just kind of like assume they'll use something and don't realize it's not available. If you're working with a team skills and capabilities, the timeline feasibility, looking at what the timeline is, what you can do if there's holidays, etc. Location requirements, if you happen to be filming, let's say up in Riggy, or you want to go to Vangan, or you want to do something at school in the evening, is that really going to happen? And any of the permissions you would need. So it's a lot more than just like, this is what I'm going to use to make something. Um, some things that I would give you advice on is there are different kinds of like production research for different media. So, for example, if you were going to do a video or film production, you would definitely have to look more into, um, I guess, more of like the equipment, a lot of the technical specifications and requirements, the equipment capabilities and limitations. Once again, software tools and comparisons. That's very good for your film and video um, with those moving kind of images. When you are looking at photography and design productions, which would be like graphic design, the pictures you would take, if you have to print something out, right? Or the size that they would want things to be to feature it, maybe on social media, you have to think about the size specifications, how the quality that they want to develop. Do they want PNG? Do they want a JPEG? Do they want to give it to you to give as a raw file? That would fall under file format. You have light and equipment options. For what do we have here? Do you need to use a strobe? Do you need to have a light that you take with you? And then also the production timelines. How long will it actually take you to shoot and edit? We always have to leave time for that. If you decide to do any kind of like website or app development, this is a whole different realm, right? You got to look into the platform requirements and limitations. Device compatibility is huge. The way you make something look for on a desktop isn't what you would do for your phone. It's totally different looks. Technical capability, user experience is huge, huge, huge. You have to think about who's using your product and what they're using it for and how you deliver it to them, how you're going to test it and implement it. So there's a lot of things to look into here. Typically, with your production research process, you The order that I would go into is like this, and I've actually then mapped out how this part of AC1 really bleeds into AC2. So first you have to define what you have to make. What needs to be created, what are the specifications that are needed, and how do they want it delivered? Your client should tell you this at the very beginning. You know this from day one, okay? That's in your brief. Then you have to identify your own knowledge gaps. What production elements are unfamiliar to you? If you have never used Final Cut Pro, probably that's something you're going to have to get familiar with. What are technical challenges that need solutions? So, for example, your client wants to film only on weekends. Okay, that might be a technical challenge because your equipment is at school. How are you going to deal with that? What resources might be needed? So, those knowledge gaps, you have to identify them. Then you get information around how to fix it. That's researching technical specifications. That's looking at tutorials and guides. That's talking to experts. And experts is a wide range of people. And then you test and experiment. And that actually comes in AC2, where you have to do a whole section where you experiment to figure out these things. Because remember, right now we're just researching what needs to be done. We're not actually doing it until our pre production. Then you document your findings. So in AC1, you will develop those technical specifications and define them and say why. Then between AC1 and AC2, you'll have those guidelines to follow. AC2, you build those resource lists, and then also you document your workflow. That would be your storyboard. That would be a big one, is your production plan. So this all builds off of the work that you've done here in AC1. With some research methods, if you guys need some tips here in regards to technical testing, this is something you will do. That's called primary research. Is think about using different equipment with trials and tests. We have our actual film cameras, and we also have DSLRs, and we also have a Blackmagic. What works out best? Does filming on your phone work out best? Why? Software compatibility testing. Would you rather use Premiere Pro or Final Cut Pro? What's accessible to you? How are you going to run through this workflow? Expert consultations. We have experts around us, and this very class is very easy to reach. So you could have conversations with Ms. Jarvis and I. You could actually talk to other BTEC students, especially what they have used, what they like, why they use it. You can refer to them. And then you can also look up interviews with experienced technical specialists. You can find people on LinkedIn. If you know someone who knows someone and you want to ask some advice, do an interview. This is a great way to do production research. Secondary research, that would be tutorial videos and guides, looking into basics about technical specifications. Lots of forums and group discussions also is good, and as well as case studies of similar projects. So you can watch what people did to create a commercial in the Himalayas if you yourself have to make a video for a PDW. So then reference analysis. This is when you look at products that have been successful and you can note what works. Analyze techniques used in benchmark projects. So let's say you have to make a commercial for a nonprofit that has to do around education. Well, then a good place to start is to look at successful campaigns from educations that work in nonprofit and why that worked. And then reverse engineer how they made that. A lot of this ties back to design. You've done these before. It's just going really a lot more in depth. Then you have your tools and techniques, guys. So here's some online tools and then ISL resources. So online for production research, you guys can watch YouTube tutorials. Behind the scenes videos are amazing. Sometimes even watching like a clip of a video with director's commentary gives you so much insight. Looking at creative software documentation, right? So this would be just seeing what people use in order to create a certain thing and why. Reddit forums actually can be really helpful. There are really helpful people out there. Some great threads to follow would be filmmakers, graphic design. Go more into what you're trying to search. I know I use the Photoshop one all the time if I don't know how to do something. And I actually submit an idea and I explain what I need to do, and people respond with how they do it and how they suggest it. Looking at an equipment manual if you need to know how to use the Blackmagic. That's a great idea to go online and see. And then there's also a lot of production blogs and websites. So that's online. ISL resources, equipment catalogs. Come to Miss Jarvis and I, and we can let you know exactly what we have. Okay, we are a very well resourced school. We're very privileged. Technical staff knowledge. You have people, me, myself, Miss Jarvis, Seb, Elon. There's so many people here that have great technical knowledge. Miss McIntyre understands how to use Illustrator and Photoshop really well. Let's say Miss Thane is someone who does photography extremely well. So there are people around you that can help you. Look at previous student documents, documentation. So what BTEC students did, we keep their portfolios. You can read what they have done. And look at our media room and also the library resources. It's all here for you. So, some tips before we go into your task. Do not do not avoid testing things out, okay? This does happen more in AC2, but don't be afraid to meddle a little bit during your AC1 research, okay? Testing things in an actual condition will help you tremendously in understanding what you need. Um, don't assume that the software you want to use is going to be the best one. Actually check it. Don't ignore file format requirements. There's a reason they're there. Don't in regards to your resource planning, I think people tend to be really unrealistic. They underestimate the time needed to take care of these technical elements. They don't actually research what is available and what's capable. And then they fail to account for the editing part, the post-production requirements. This takes a lot of time. And a lot of times you guys think you'll do it at home, but you don't have the programs or the equipment to run those programs at home. So you got to do it at school. So do those trials. Don't assume everything will work. And just really, it's a lot of just trial and test. And the thing is once you do it at first, then eventually, later on you have better knowledge. So by the end of your production research, you will need to have had this. You would have researched technical requirements and specifications. You will have gone into testing key production techniques and approaches, and you'll continue in your AC2. You will have confirmed the equipment and software capabilities, what's best to create your stuff. You will have a backup plan or idea for any technical challenges. So for example, if you're like, oh, if I want to film this at school and it has to be outdoors and it's going to snow, this would be my backup. You're going to think about documenting your workflow, where you want to save your things, the process, what's the best delivery format, and then also just think about any problems that might occur. Just it's making you very aware and critically think how to problem solve. This is a great skill in life. So, for your tasks, you guys will have to think about the questions to draft for your production research, okay? So, on your research log, you do have a section that is production research. And if you click, there is a link that leads you to a template that just had to do with production research. If you want a bit of an extension, something that I would suggest to you is to look at case studies of like different kinds of media production. So here you can look at like a small indie video project that someone did for like their first years in university compared to like a Vogue magazine photo shoot campaign and kind of see what resources are available and what goes into it. So that's just a bit of an extension for a suggestion, but for sure you must do those drafting of questions. As always, you guys have these research templates. You've seen them before. Know that they're here for you. So your research log is still where you're kind of living, but if you also want to start filling in some things either in your report or presentation, it's there. All right, guys, I will see you in our next video.